back. It feels great to be here. This is last lesson, first gig. I'm excited about what we are going to share today. I want to talk about simplifying chords in the method of Joe Pass. Joe Pass, if you don't know him, look him up. He was a great musician. He had a lot of cool ideas about music, and he shares a lot of them in different books and videos and things. He's very cool. So chords are real. At a gig, and you're trying to listen to something, and the upper structures are sounding, or you're trying to read something, it looks more like alphabet soup than some chords that you're familiar with. This is the solution for you, okay? So I'll start with a story. I like playing with this guy from Austin. His name is James Beer. He's a pianist, keyboard player. He plays bass with his left hand, and he comps, and he plays lead. He rips, absolutely rips. He always wants to play with a drummer and a guitar player. So I'll play with him when he comes to Houston, and it's always a treat. He's very special. So we've never practiced. He never wants to rehearse, and I love that. That's one of my favorite parts about this gig. We never also, he very rarely even tells me what kind of music we're going to be playing at the event, and that's cool too. I just try to make sure I bring enough gear and enough versatile gear, like a Telecaster and a Stratocaster, or maybe a hollow body, and a couple different pedals and things like this. Because sometimes we'll play a jazz gig, and sometimes we'll play a funky rock gig, and sometimes we'll just do all pop music. He's an incredible vocalist, and he does circles around me and basically everybody. But it is very rare for him to tell us what we're going to play, and it's very rare for him to even announce the name of the song to me before we even play it, let alone the key and things like this. So it's just a lot of listening. I have to see, if I don't know the song we're playing, then I have to listen, and I have to hear, the chords that he's playing and things like this. And it can get very complicated as he's spinning out different upper structures of these chords and these harmonies as they're moving through different sections. Almost impossible to pick out every single flavor that he's pulling in, especially when he's changing them through different choruses and things. So I use this Joe Pass method to boil down, among other things, to boil down what is being played so I can play along with it. Joe Pass liked to hear music and chords in this way. He only heard 3 chords. He heard a major chord, he heard a minor chord, and he heard a dominant chord. Now, last lesson, first gig. That means if he heard a major 7, then he could substitute it for any other kind of major. Okay, so that means major 6. That means just regular major. Major 9, that means major 7 sharp 11. Whatever. If it was a major chord, he could substitute it for any of the other sounds that he referred to as major. Anything like this. Last lesson, first gig. If it was a minor chord, same kind of thing. He understood a minor chord to be minor 7, minor 9, minor 11, just a minor chord. They were interchangeable, so if he wanted to make it less sophisticated and boil it down, he would go, from a 9 to a 7, or a 7 to just a regular triad, or vice versa. If he wanted to lift it up and make it more sophisticated, he would do the opposite. He would add the numbers to it, make it more stacked. Okay, so last lesson, first gig. And the same with a dominant. Obviously, a dominant is a very pronounced chord in every key, or locally into other keys and things like this. And he understood any kind of dominant 7 chord. He could substitute it for dominant 7 flat 9, dominant 7, he could add a 13 or whatever and make it more sophisticated, or he could boil it down. If it said dominant 7 flat 9, whatever, he could just play dominant 7. Okay, so when you're going through, try to pick out a tune and a song or something that has a lot of numbers. Okay, try to boil it down. If it's a dominant 7 13, make it just a dominant 7. If it says major 7 add 9 or something, make it just a major chord. Or take all the major chords and make them major 6, major 6 9 or something like this. All the minor chords, minor 9s or minor 11, make it minor 7s. And boil them down and see what that does to the sound, and vice versa. A song that is just 1 4 6 5, something like this, try and spin some harmonies out on top of it relative to the dominant. I can make it a dominant 9, dominant sharp 9, Eventually what will happen is you'll start to hear little lines connecting between the different chords. What Joe doesn't talk about is a half diminished chord, which is a little bit tricky because it's like, that's an important one, no? What do we do with that? Closer to a minor chord, but you can also hear a half diminished 7 chord as kind of like a flat 5/7 flat 9 with a suspension and a wrong bass note, you know? Check that out, see what that sounds like. With the 5th in the bass it'll be. So last lesson, first gig. Yeah, you find yourself in a tight situation, Joe Pass Method. And everything is looking like it's moving, you know, in a weird way. Joe Pass Method. Joe Pass Method. Thank you. Joe Pass Method. Enjoy.